Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about the OSI model and why it actually still matters in real world IT, even if you think you know it. So that's going to be my talk. And I just want to say thank you. The last video I did, I had a lot of interaction from you and feedback, so I really appreciate that. And I'll continue talking like this. So today I'll talk about the OSI model. And the OSI model, I'll get right into it, is the Open Systems Interconnect. And it consists of 7 layers, starting at 1, going up to 7. And starting at 1, it's the physical, the data link, the network, the transport, the session, presentation, and application. And at some point in your career, you're going to come across this model, or if you're going to go for a certification, you're going to have to actually memorize these layers and what they mean. But this talk is about going beyond that. And actually using the OSI model to help you troubleshoot and actually in your daily activities in your career when it comes to IT. So that's where the real skill difference happens, is knowing how to think through a problem using these layers when something breaks. And that's the main difference between knowing and using the OSI model. And early in my IT career, like I said, I've done the same thing. I had to memorize it. You know, the physical layer is the cables and the hardware. The data link layer, it's layer 2. It deals with MAC addresses and switching. And switching now, there's switches that have data link and networking. So there's layer 3 switches, but I'm only talking about layer 2 switches right here. Don't need to get in the weeds with that. But then layer 3 network, and that comes with IP addressing and routing. And but what changed for me when I got introduced to the OSI model and I memorized it, and when I was out in the world and under pressure, something broke, I realized of how I could use this in order to help me triage or work through the process of finding exactly what's wrong in a network per se. And well, you start by asking a simple question: at what layer is this failing at right now? Is it a layer 1 issue, a layer 2 issue, or a layer 3 issue, right? So getting into that, like a layer 1 issue is your physical layer. That's where most people underestimate problems. So this is, you know, what the reality actually starts looking like: a bad cable, unplugged devices, simple as that. I think we all know that we've had some type of a call, or we've asked, you know, or we've gotten to somewhere and we looked and the PC's not on, or the PC's unplugged. That's still, even though I'm talking about networking, that's still a physical, physical problem. Is it plugged in? Failing ports, things do fail, and also unstable links because of bad cables or whatnot, or even a failing port. Things can just get wonky. So most network issues you seem to feel actually they start here at the physical layer. And if nothing is working at all, I mean, don't guess. You immediately ask, do I actually trust this connection? And what that mean is that, can I leave this out of my head and move on to basically layer 2? And layer 2 is the data link layer, where things they look connected, but it's deeper. So, you know, you basically verified that, you know, you trust the cables plugged in, and all that's good. You have link lights and all that good thing. But this is where the confusion actually starts happening for like technicians, because we start dealing with MAC address issues, right? VLAN misconfigurations. We start getting more in depth here. Switching loops. So like when I said about layer 3 switching, I'm talking about layer 2 switching. Even though it can happen layer 3, I don't want to confuse anybody, but like, so we're going to be talking about unmanaged switches in this case. To keep it simple, you can actually wire up your loops or your switches, I mean, in a loop configuration where packets just circle the loop, and that actually causes huge problems. And again, if you go for your CCNA, you'll understand why. That's how MAC address tables and stuff work on switches. But anyhow, moving beyond that, filtering rules too at layer 2. So at this layer, you know, physically everything looks fine, but there's something else under the hood. So digging further into layer 3, you're looking at the network layer now, and that's where the internet issues lie. Someone might come up to you and say, hey, the internet's down. Well, the whole internet's not down, right? In their world it is, but or maybe in your network it is, but it's not like there's a global outage of the internet. So this is where IP addressing comes into play, internet protocol, and so you could have incorrect subnetting. You can have missing routes, misconfigured routes. You can have gateway misconfigurations, hence why you can't get to the internet. You can have overlapping networks, and that can come down to subnetting problems. So a lot of the internet is down things that you hear actually are layer 3 problems. And again, knowing when you hear something or something comes across, you get a ticket, in order to hone in at what layer to start. And you can start at 1 and work to 3, or 3 work to 1. But again, you have this mental framework. So the real lesson in thinking in layers is not memorizing them. The OSI model is useful because it allows you to list things in layers, and so you ask yourself, where is the failure actually happening? What symptoms match what layer, right? As we talked about with layer 1 through 3. And what should I check first, right? So that shift from just memorizing to thinking is what actually, in my opinion, separates technicians from engineers, because you're starting to understand and use it and apply it. And I'll share with you some real world moments that I had with this. Is that so many years ago I was actually consulting for enterprise environment, and we started doing work, and a network administrator left, so we had to do interviews to replace that network administrator, and they asked me to sub in even though I was a consultant. So I worked with management and whatnot and came up with questions, and one of the things I wanted to ask the interviewers was how do they approach problems in a structured way instead of guessing random. So what I did is I asked them some OSI level questions, and it wasn't to basically say how smart you are. I was trying to extract the point of how they go about in a structured way, because let's face it, there are problems that none of us, you wake up and you're like, I wasn't expecting this problem. But if you can rely on the OSI model, it shows that you have a structured way of breaking down problems and getting to a resolution. So through that though, reason why I want to share this is through that though, I was very surprised at some of the answers I actually got through that interview process. And how differently people interpreted the question itself. Some people just outright thought it was a relevant theory, which that does not make any sense to me. But anyhow, others immediately started breaking down the problem and how they would use the OSI model step by step. And again, it shows that competence right there. So the difference matters more than what most people realize when it comes to real world troubleshooting in IT. So, and I'm going to just go out on a limb and say even more so today, I think it matters, because we have so many different interconnected things now, and it just keeps growing in complexity. So it doesn't matter, cloud security software, networking, cybersecurity, even software development. And I think I might make a next video, I don't know, about like how coders need to be more, well, they're becoming more security centric in their programming, because that's where a lot of these zero-day exploits and stuff are coming from. But anyhow, I'm diverging. My whole point is that the OSI model still quietly applies everywhere. So that's why I said when I had that one interview person that said that they thought the theory is irrelevant, I was like, well, I'm gonna disagree. But anyhow, I want to leave you with a final thought here. The OSI model isn't something you just learn once and then move on from. It's something that you're going to use through your whole IT career, and if you apply it correctly, it's going to help you, especially when you're in a moment when it's a crisis moment, everything's down, you don't know what to do. You can say, okay, at what layers is this breaking down, and you can triage it. And again, it even works at software, it works at all these layers or all these disciplines through IT, and it becomes a way of thinking. just like what I said, like if you can apply that to all that, it becomes like a framework where you can conquer and divide and isolate in on a problem. So when something breaks, you just don't panic. You go back and you say, okay, what have I learned beyond memorization, and apply that knowledge and locate the layer. And I really think, like, once you start thinking that way, you stop troubleshooting a way where you're throwing spaghetti against the wall and trying to figure things out, and you start troubleshooting like a true engineer. So I hope this helps you. I hope if this is new information for you, and if you get to apply it, it takes one of those days that's a bad day and turns it into a good day for you. Maybe you'll turn into the hero of when the network's down and you get everything operational. So thank you for listening, and until we meet again.